Hey everyone, so patch 10.1.5 comes out in a couple weeks on July 12th, so I wanted to highlight the Dawn of the Infinite Mega Dungeon and some of the trinkets that are going to be coming with the patch. Obviously we're going to get the Mega Dungeon, and we're also going to get some of these trinkets as an addition to the gameplay. So everything is going to be locked at 421 for this Mega Dungeon, but eventually it will become a Mythic Plus dungeon, which should give these trinkets a lot more value, assuming that they're actually going to be pretty good. But then also, on top of that, they might still be good for some niche specs where like a niche trinket is really good because it lines up with your toolkit very well, and you can abuse it in some way. Get the tech. So first one is Mirror of Fractured Tomorrows. It is an all-roll trinket, so anyone can use it. Agility, Strength, or Intellect. It's an on-use 3-minute CD. Gaze into the mirror's depths, inviting a version of your future self to fight alongside you for 20 seconds, casting spells based on your roll. In addition, you grant yourself 1100 of your highest secondary stat. So the secondary stat is like decent, but it's not a mega amount. Especially, well, you know, based on the item level as well. But the ally or your future self fighting alongside you could be interesting. Depends what kind of abilities it casts. It would be sick if it did stuff like interrupts and disorients. Imagine dispel some of the afflicted mobs in your weekly Mythic Plus. But still, could be interesting. We got to see how the string is going to play out a little bit. Got to do more testing on it, but looks interesting. Accelerating Sandglass. So it's an agility or strength trinket, and it's just an equip effect. Your attacks drain the hourglass, giving you a chance to grant 164 haste up to 15 times before the sand runs out. Once the glass is empty, your next defensive ability performs a flurry of accelerated strikes, dealing 2600 physical damage per stack and flipping the hourglass to begin the cycle anew. So it does look like the proc chance of this is about 15 times per minute, which lines up nicely with how many stacks you would like to gain. That's the maximum amount of stacks. So it looks like you're going to get max stacks about once a minute, but obviously it depends on when the hourglass runs out and the timer on that. It might have an internal cooldown of, say, like 45 seconds or like a minute and something, right? So you might not get max stacks every single minute on the dot. But it's quite interesting. You can focus a particular target with that and get some extra damage on a specific target. Could be good on bosses and stuff like that. But it's not overwhelming. I think it looks decent, but not incredible. Then you have Time Thief's Gambit, which is an intellect trinket, and it's an on-use. You borrow power from an alternate timeline for personal gain, increasing your haste by 2400 for 15 seconds and triggering a paradox 2 minutes later. If the paradox arrives, you'll be frozen in time, completely unable to act or move for 5 seconds. Killing enemies steals their remaining time to partially delay the paradox by 15 seconds, with major enemies restoring the timeout completely. So killing bosses will restore it completely and things. The interesting thing with this trinket is the delay on the paradox, right? It's kind of like in Formula 1, you know, you don't have to serve your time penalty immediately. You can wait until after the race. Wait until after the dungeon. Maybe you can finish the key and then get stunned for 5 seconds. This could be quite deadly if you don't play it well. It could be quite dangerous if you're not aware, if you're not tracking the cooldown of this, and if you're not killing things quick enough. So the big question is, if the cooldown of the trinket, because it's a 2-minute cooldown, right? The cooldown of it, well, I think it's a 2-minute cooldown. It doesn't actually 100% say, but whatever the cooldown of the trinket is on using this, is like, can you use it whilst you still have a paradox that's awaiting to be, I guess, like, served? That penalty is waiting to be served. Can you still use the trinket? That's the big question. Because if not, that's going to be a bit sucky, but it could be interesting there. Then you have Echoing Tear Stone. So it's an intellect healing trinket. It's an on-use with a 2-minute cooldown. Activate the Tear Stone, recording 30% of your healing done over the next 10 seconds, up to 37,000 healing. Who knows on whether overhealing will also count towards this. And then it has an equip effect where whenever you or one of your allies falls below 35% health, the Tear Stone will summon an echo of your past self, healing them and nearby allies for the stored amount, and granting 333 haste until cancelled before the record is lost. So nice little haste benefit for everyone. A lot of haste trinkets you can see. It's a bit of a bummer for any spec that scales off of, say, like Mastery really well, or, I mean, a lot of the times crit verse things are scaling well with these specs anyway, so getting something that's got some haste scaling or some mastery scaling is nice, but a lot of these are haste affecting. And then also the healing, like, that could be quite nice in pulsing damage environments. If everyone nearby is also going to get healed with this trinket, could be a nice, like, heal save, but generally speaking, healing trinkets aren't always that great, and you just take DPS trinkets as well. And then you have the last one, which is like the tank trinket, Prophetic Stone Scales. So this is agility or strength. Sustaining fatal damage throws you 10 seconds into the past, restoring up to 1.4 million health lost during that time. Enemies that struck you during that window of time deal 20% less damage to you, in addition to your haste being increased by 14,000 for 12 seconds with an 8-minute cooldown. Now, cheat death trinkets can be very useful at times as situational. If it works something like the Fate Scribe trinket, where that was also a cheat death mechanism, could be quite handy. I know that was very favored for a lot of people. A lot of people wanted that, especially even non-tanking specs wanted that. There was also the Kel'Thuzad trinket, I believe, in Castle Nathria. That was quite good as like a cheat death trinket. I think it was the spike. I can't remember what it was, the fragment or something. So that was quite good. Now, if you can reset the cheat death effect by your tank dying, that could be quite interesting. But I imagine Blizzard are probably wise to that now, and that probably won't be the case. But this is just a breakdown of all the different trinkets that are going to be released with this Mega Dungeon. Should be interesting. I'm very excited for the Mega Dungeon itself. I'm really excited. Hopefully, you know, we jump through time and we get to see some cool zones and some cool bosses from like WoW's history and stuff. And hopefully when this becomes a Mythic Plus dungeon in Mythic, you know, in a Mythic Plus season, maybe we'll get things like Echo of Time and stuff like that from Cataclysm. End Time and all that kind of stuff would be really, really cool to see some of those dungeons come back, because it would make sense for the time. But yeah, just a breakdown of some of these trinkets. Thanks for watching. See you again.